Good morning, all. Welcome back to another episode of Shared Light with Dusty and JR. I am obviously JR.
I'm Dusty.
So, this week has been fun. We wanted to talk to everyone about a topic. It's pretty important, I feel like. Something that we have encountered ourselves and do feel that it does add value to a lot of the conversations that we're having. And that is the idea of creating emotional safety within a relationship and what that actually looks and feels like.
Yeah, creating that foundation.
Right. So, and this is one of those topics that I think everybody is going to have their own opinion on, I feel like. But I just want to go out on the record and say, this is what has worked for us. Maybe it can work for somebody out there.
Yeah.
Bits and pieces, whatever it may be.
Peace.
In thinking about some of our struggles that we have had, past and present, one of the things that gets lost on both of us is, what am I doing to make sure that you feel seen, heard, and safe within the relationship? And what are you doing to make me feel the same way? And a lot of that, we harp on it over and over and over on this channel, begins with open communication.
Yeah, that's our number one.
Open, honest communication.
Honest, yeah.
Which I think that lays one of the major foundations of safety within our relationship, is that we understand, at least I can speak for myself, I understand that sometimes in honesty, you may say something that I am not going to agree with or like, but I am also not going to punish you for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I can be messy and be, however I feel about what I'm thinking or feeling, whether it's bad or it's going to hurt your feelings, or I feel safe I can be honest about it.
Right. And I am going to do my best. I'm not always perfect, but I am going to do my best in those conversations to make sure that I'm not minimizing those feelings.
Yeah.
Or that I'm going to make you feel bad about them, or just cash them aside, or whatever it may be, right? It really does shape the conversation so that you are able to express yourself freely. Because again, I've said it over and over and over, everybody's entitled to feel what they feel. It's a fundamental fact of nature that you're going to get feelings about situations, stimulus, whatever it may be. And for whatever reason that is, you're entitled to have that feeling. It's how you respond to those feelings that sometimes is not so constructive. But that's not to say that in this situation that is the case, right? It's being honest in a relationship, as corny as it sounds and as cliche as it might sound to some, really does lay that foundation of everything else that a relationship is built. I mean, there's trust, there's emotional connection, there is the foundations of, everything that you discuss at the beginning of a relationship, if you're honest throughout the relationship. Like all that starts to lay the foundational bricks of your home, right? You call it home.
Yeah, our home. Not our physical home, but our home,
right.
Our relationship.
It has to be, it really has to be something that you invest your... It's a little hard for me to talk about because it's hard for me to verbalize. Like when you're in those messy situations and you're being completely honest with somebody and you're completely vulnerable with somebody, because you don't, I've said it before, you don't really know what the outcome is going to be. Yes, it's easy for me to say that in a conversation, you need to get it out there because this is the basis where you move forward.
But it's scary.
But it is scary because there is a lot of unknown. And you have to be able to push past that ego, which I have a problem with, right? We've talked about that. I do have a tendency to let my ego and my pride get the best of me. But you have to be able to maneuver your way through that so that you stay present in the moment, that your tone in the conversation is not all those things that we talked about, being dismissive, being sarcastic, or minimizing it, or
yelling.
Right. And you have to consistently do it over and over and over. It's like everything else, right? It's like working out or...
Yeah, you got to be consistent because that's what's going to show your partner that I can be safe over time. Like I can feel comfortable coming to you and having that communication because consistently you've been open and receiving whatever it is, whether good or bad or messy or ugly, and you don't judge me for that. So over time, you do it once and it's like, okay, we had a good conversation.
Right.
And then the next time you go back to ego, or you go back to yelling at me for something, or not you per se, but like in whatever relationship, that you can't trust that you can go back to them again third time,
right?
because you don't know what you're gonna get.
Yeah, you're gonna lose that safety net, because
you're not building on it.
Yeah, that's essentially what you're building through every interaction like that. With every honest interaction, is you're building a little bit of a safety net that. And it's like with everything, right? Like stepping out onto a creaky bridge across a chasm. Like you're taking small baby steps because you don't know if this thing's going to hold you. And as you get further and further down the line, you start getting a little bit more comfortable. And by the end of it, like you're taking full on steps and crossing this, canyon or whatever. But it really does start there. I mean, it starts with that consistent approach and that consistent demeanor, because it's not even necessarily about just being calm in the moment. It's about being present in the moment and being able to look past all of the other stuff that is maybe going on, in turmoil. Because I've said it a few times, or I've said it at least once in a couple of episodes or a past episode, where like you really have to sit and listen with the idea that you're seeking to understand what the other person is telling you.
And that's the other side, I think, of communication is it's not just talking, it's listening, it's understanding, it's, trying to understand. It's how you're approaching conversation.
And it's how you're not just physically present in the moment, but you're emotionally invested in the conversation.
Yeah.
You're, again, making it a point to actively listen so that you can formulate not a response. You're formulating an understanding of what this person is actually trying to tell you.
Yeah. And I think that, like you said, the calm tone, how you approach it, how you're actively listening and understanding. Because, like for me, I shut down when I am yelled at, or, somebody is coming at me, just shut down, And so that's really going to close your lines of communication when I'm coming to you and trying to be open and trying to be honest, trying to feel safe in what I, am trying to communicate to you. It makes a huge difference in your tone, in how you're receiving it.
Right. And it's not easy.
No, it's not always easy because there's so many things that, there've been a lot of hard conversations and things that it's not easy to talk about.
But it is one of those things that has, I think, impacted us the most in creating the safety between the two. Because we know that whatever it is, it's better for us to talk about it and discuss it and figure out what we're going to do with it than it is to just cast it aside or not think about it. Because we found out firsthand that just ends up making a situation into something that it isn't.
Right. It just compounds it and makes it a cycle.
And, and it's not even about grand gestures. It's not even about we're having this huge conversation every single time.
Yeah.
But even in the small moments, if something bothers her, I would rather her tell me right then, hey, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
And accept that is her perspective and that is her opinion. And I need to understand where that's coming from.
Yeah.
And same for her. If there's something that's bothering me, she has the right to understand, well, this is what's bothering me. This is what's happening. This is what's going on. Because that also continues to weave that safety net around your relationship with this other person.
Yeah.
And again, it doesn't have to be a spouse. It doesn't have to be.
No, I think it's just any relationship.
Yeah.
There's just different levels. You're not going to get on the same level in a marriage that you are with a friendship or,
Right.
But I think there's also other things that help create that safety net. And that's, following through on little things that, you said you were going to do it and you did it. It's not always just about communicating something. It's,
right.
You said you were going to show up for me in this moment or whatever, and you did. And those things over time create they create trust. They create, stability, but they also create safety.
Right.
I have that safety in you that you're always going to be there for me, no matter what. And I know that you're always going to be there for our kids no matter what, because you consistently show up in any situation. Doesn't matter what it is, big or small. So that is a core part of our safety net, is that we have always, even in the hard times, shown up for each other.
It builds that, again, I go back to that foundation, right? It helps build everything that your relationship is based on, and it makes it stronger over time. And it really just allows you to get through some of those harder situations that you run into in life. Because who knows where I'd be if I wouldn't have felt like I could rely on you when my mom passed, right? Like, we know how I deal with things, or have dealt with things in the past when I don't want to deal with things in the moment and want to numb things out.
Yeah.
And like, over the span of our relationship, you have shown me that you're somebody who's going to allow me to deal with those emotions and help me work through those emotions, even though sometimes I'm not as forthcoming with it, just because that's just me. But you have also learned after a lot of our conversations that sometimes I just need that space to be able to process.
And I've learned too that there are also the times that you think you need to internally process, but it's like you need to let it out. Yeah. You need to communicate this and get it out.
Well, and that's part of that. Instead of assuming, you're trying to be curious about like what's going on with me.
Yeah.
Or if you're feeling a certain way, it's okay for me to ask, like, are you all right? Or is something going on?
And that's part of our safety net. We have built that, and we feel comfortable saying, what do you need? Or what do you...
Well, and if you remain curious, it's a lot. Again, I spoke about this as well before, where like it's easier to help somebody that tells you what they expect or what they need than to try and figure out what they need.
Or just assume they know what you need.
Right. Because there's times when I'm honest, I don't know what you need. And I have found that it's okay for me to ask. What can I do? What can I do right now to help? What can we do? Not with the intent to fix, although that is my default, right?
Go-to.
But being able to have that, openness and curiosity really helps also move past some of that unknown and some of those feelings that come up because if I come at a situation where I'm curious instead of actively trying to solve a problem, like, I'm going to approach it a different way, and my emotions are going to be a different way. So it helps me remain in a frame of mind that is more open to hearing and listening and understanding what you're trying to tell me.
Yeah, because you're curious about it.
Instead of trying to respond to what you're telling me, which that I think is one of the factors and one of the things that a lot of people, and you will find this in organizations, you will find this in leadership, you will find this in everyday conversations, you will find this everywhere you go, right? A majority of people, when they're talking to somebody, are listening to formulate a response. They're not always listening to understand what the other person is really saying. And it's that just bit of curiosity that you can have about a situation that really changes that mentality.
Yeah.
So, obviously for us, we harp on communication, but what does that communication look like? It has to be honest communication. We have to be willing to push past some of the hard emotions that do come in play in some of the situations when conversations are not what we want them to be and they're difficult. But it's also about showing up in those moments when things aren't difficult and being able to talk through the things that aren't detrimental or hard, right? It's about being honest and intentional, all this stuff. And that's why we say, like, marriage, you have to work to have a good marriage. Like, it's just not something that is going to manifest. Like, we have put in a lot of work to get where we are.
Yeah, you have to lay that foundation. It's just a part of it.
Because, and I've fallen into this trap, right? One of the things that can easily damage that is by me dismissing your feelings. Like, you're coming at me with something that bothers you and me just saying, well, this isn't even a big deal. Like, why are you freaking out about it? Like, that threatens that safety.
Yeah. It threatens the safety, and it makes me shut down. So I'm not willing to be open.
Right. And the other one for me especially, is like, I have a tendency to get defensive because I feel like I'm getting attacked, or, again, yeah. I fully own that I have and can have a very prideful sense, and I am, sometimes my ego gets in the way, so I do get defensive. But I've worked pretty hard to try and work through that.
Yeah, I think we've worked together because I put my emotions into all of it, every aspect of it. And I don't always need to show up that way, in every conversation that we have. And so that makes me very reactive to every little thing that you say, which leads to me misinterpreting how you're saying it or what you're meaning by it, So I think both of us have those emotions, those things that we have to work through to sit down and have those conversations.
Right. Because ultimately that is what ends up threatening that safety that we've built.
Yeah.
Another one which I don't think we have a problem with, but another one that I see pretty often is, being inconsistent in how you're acting. And I don't even just see that in a relationship. Like I see that in leadership all day long. Right. Yeah. Like if you are not consistent with the people that you are working with, especially if you're a leader or a manager or whatever you may be, right? Like if you're approaching things one way one day and one way another, and like your people have no idea, like you're not building trust. You're not building.
This is very inconsistent.
Right. And it leads to a lot of negative feelings.
Yeah.
And again, it's part of that emotional safety net. Everywhere you go, that's what you're trying to build. Like you're trying to build a little bit of a safety net so that and I spoke about this, right? Like human nature is to ensure that you're safe, that you are approaching situations that are safe for you. And if not, your mind or whatever it may be, is going to put you in a situation where you're expecting certain outcomes.
Yeah.
So when you're approaching something inconsistently and you are not actively allowing people if the only thing that you're consistent in is being inconsistent,
yeah,
like people aren't going to follow you. You're not going to have good outcomes.
And people aren't going to trust you.
No, that's on a management side and even on a relationship side, like that is not a good place to be, because if you can't trust the person you're with, if you can't trust the people that you work with, if you can't trust, you're blocked off. You're in a situation where like you've got walls up around you and you're not letting people in to your own personal safety net. So it's one of those things that I think gets lost, consistency, honesty.
Yeah. And I think sometimes people think like, well, I did show up one time, so that should be enough,
Yeah.
Or I would like this conversation that we had, it was like a big conversation and that should have set the precedent. So now I don't have to be that way anymore, or, and it's not. It's like I said, that's consistency.
Yeah. And relationships and life just does not work that way.
Yeah.
Like you have to continually show up for the people that you really
in
truly want to show up for. Yeah. If you want to continue having the relationship that you have, you can have acquaintances that are that way.
Yeah.
But if you consider yourself, a friend, or like with us, if I'm inconsistent, I have no expectations that you're going to feel safe in our relationship.
And why would you not want that for your partner, especially,
At the end of the day, they're the one person that you have committed to and that you have said you are spending the rest of your life with. It's supposed to be your other half. Why are you not doing everything in your power to make sure that they feel safe?
Right. I want to be that safety net for you. And why would I not do everything to be that safety net for you?
So what does that look like real time? Because we do get into situations where, people need to know what. Oh, well, what do you mean? What do you mean? What are you talking about? How? Yeah, it's great for you to say that you've got all of these bits of information, but you guys have been together for 20 years. How do I start building on that today?
Yeah.
First things first, it's about slowing down the conversation, especially if it's a hard one.
Yeah.
Because you have to remember, you're going into it with the sole purpose of you guys are trying to understand each other. Not I'm trying to understand so that I can counter the argument.
Yeah. Right. I need to be right, or I need to fix this. Or I think just slowing down and both of you realizing we're here to understand. We're here to listen. Even if there's not a resolution, we're here to listen.
And being okay with the fact that there will be moments when you will need to say, hey, we need a break. I don't want to talk about this right now. Like you have to validate that people are in the right spot to have this conversation as well. Like that also creates that safety. You have to be okay with not finding a resolution right this second.
In this moment. Yeah. That happened to us recently. I was in that spot where it was like, I'm not in the space right now that I can talk about this.
Right. Like, you have to be okay with that, because that is creating that emotional safe space, allows people to breathe, because especially when, like, it's a tough conversation, like, there's a lot of emotion.
Yeah.
There's a lot of unknown. There's a lot of fear. Like, you have to be able to collect yourself from that first.
Yeah.
To be able to accept information.
Yeah, because it's not going to be a good communication, a good conversation if you both go in.
Well, and you're just not going to...
guns blazing.
Essentially, you're breaking rule 1, right? Because you're not going to go in with the intent to listen.
No.
You're going in with the intent to counter the argument.
Yeah.
Like, at that point, it's a debate. Like, you guys are debating who is right, who is wrong.
Right.
Why my point of view is more important than your point of view. Why, so it starts breaking down all of those walls. And I'll be honest, like, that was one of the hardest ones for us to learn.
Yeah. It's still hard.
Yeah. We still have moments where we run into it and it's like, well, we can't
continue this conversation.
This conversation's going nowhere. We need to stop.
Mm-hmm. And that's okay. Like, we've had to learn that that's okay. Because at the end of the day, I don't even know that we even finished those conversations because they didn't matter at the end of the day.
Right.
And so I think that realizing that as well, even, because sometimes I still think about that if we have to have the hard conversations. It's like, now I know I can just sit and think, like, is this going to be something that matters at the end of the day? And it kind of gives me like, so I'm not so emotionally charged going into it, because I don't know. I mean, it's probably something, we need to talk about, but is it such a big deal, or is it just my emotions are ramped up in the moment?
Yeah, because of the situation or whatever. Or even for me, do I want to continue this conversation because I was caught off guard and now I'm defensive?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So, like, I am playing defense the whole time.
From a place I can...
where I can even listen to the situation, because it's not even like, at this point I'm just trying to figure out where did all this come from. But
yeah. And I think too, we've had a couple moments, I think, in our really hard conversations where we've had to just pause in the middle of it, when it's hard and emotions are high and you're really trying to work through something. Just pause and
reset,
whatever that looks like. I know that we've paused and we've just sat there and cuddled for a second, like, just kind of pause and reconnect for a moment, and that can reset you. It can reset your state of mind.
Well, and to your point, like, is it something that needs immediate attention? And there's going to be some of those. That's not to say that there's going to be some of those. It's not that it's always going to be something that. But even in the situations where you need a resolution, like right now, like, it's still better to pause for a few moments, collect yourself, take as much of the high stress and high emotions out of it so that you can listen and you can understand where the other person is coming from and what is driving the conversation. Like, they may be telling you something, but is the conversation coming from fear? Is it coming from sadness? Is it coming from, what is driving that emotion? Because I know, like, specifically for us, a lot of the conversations that spark us recently is fear. They're fear driven. Like, it's taken me a minute to realize that, well, it's just she's scared and I need to make her feel more safe.
Right. And I think that's a big thing for me that has helped me feel even more safe, is that you validate it for me. You validate and you don't dismiss. You validate. I understand that this is a real fear for you. Like, I validate it. I understand that this is even though I don't understand the fear, even though you don't understand where it comes from or why, you still validate that it is a true fear for me. And so that helps me feel safe in not so emotionally charged in that moment.
Well, and it goes back to that presence, right? Presence creates safety. Through validation of that, I am not necessarily validating that I understand or that you're right or that the situation is what it is or anything like that, right? Like, I am validating that on a emotional level, I connect with you and I understand that you are scared and I am here as the protector to make sure that I can do whatever I can to calm that fear. And again, it's going to be different for everybody and different for every circumstance. But that is just a quick example from us of what that looks like. Is it's okay to pause. It's okay to step away for a minute. It's okay to not repair the situation right in the moment. But it's also okay to say, okay, we need a resolution. Let's reset and continue this conversation.
Yeah. And I think it's also okay to, I don't know that we've ever, maybe we have. I mean, we've talked about it, but before you even start the conversation, you don't have to go all in right away. Start your conversation with, this is going to be a hard conversation, but know that I love you and know that, we're still here. We're still, in this together. You're not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere.
Which that was part of that non-negotiables, right? Mm-hmm. Like when we finally did get some clarity enough to say like, no, we need ground rules to have these conversations.
Yeah.
That's what that looks like for us is like, okay, well, at the end of the day, regardless of what happens in this conversation, we're still like, you better get over it because I'm still cuddling you at night.
Right. And we know that because we've established those. But if you're just starting and you're trying to build that safety, like it's okay to start your hard conversation that way.
Right.
Like go into it and just, we need to talk about this. But first of all,
like, this is where I'm coming from. This is not intended for any other reason than to
I still love you. Like we're just having a conversation.
Right. Because people have to understand that. And your partner needs to understand that, like, even if, which again, we have had that where like for a long time, disagreement felt like disconnect.
And the fear that came with that disconnect of, what does that mean for us?
Right.
Our relationship.
But it's okay to not agree on everything. Mm-hmm. It's okay to like both of you mess up with the understanding that you're going to come back
together.
Right.
I mean, in 20 years, we've always come back together.
And we have been through a lot. I mean, it's not, again, it hasn't always been what it is today. We have a really good relationship today. We have really good, honest conversations today. And I mean, we still have moments where the dark creeps in a little bit, but...
Yeah, I mean, just because you have good communication doesn't mean you're not going to have hard times.
Right.
Like life is just life. You're always going to have hard times. You're always going to have those emotional moments or things that happen in your life or your relationship or things that come up. But, having that communication and that safety is going to make it so much easier to get through.
Well, that's what keeps you together when things get overwhelming for you both. That's what sustains that, is that initial foundation that got built through trust and through honesty and through communication and through, respect for the other person.
Yeah.
Being able to respect your partner's point of view, their, values, all of it.
Yeah.
Like it all ties into when things get hard because that is what you lean into the most.
Yeah. You rely on that foundation.
Right. And like we said, for us, we've got such a strong foundation now that we know our non-negotiables. Mm-hmm. We know the things that aren't in the cards, aren't on the table. Again, like I said, at the end of the day, say what you got to say, do what you got to do, but best know that we're cuddling before bed.
Yeah. I think now it's more of, we know that the hard moments are going to come, but the conversation doesn't have to be hard.
Right.
And I think that's where we're at now, but we had a long road to get there because everything about it was hard, and it doesn't have to be. Once you start building that foundation and you have that safety net and you have that trust and respect and, you can approach those conversations in different ways. The conversations don't have to be hard. The moments will always be. There'll always be those.
I mean, to your point, that's just life, right? Life has its ups and downs. It has its good moments and bad moments. And it really is how you approach those moments and the choices that you make in how you react to those moments that makes the difference. And I think that is what has made the biggest difference for us, is that we finally got to a point where we chose, we're not going to do that anymore.
Yeah.
For us, the choice is we're gonna not fight each other. We're gonna take the problem and look at it together.
Yeah.
And find a way to find a resolution. Sometimes that resolution really is just it is what it is. We just don't agree.
Yeah. And that's okay.
So, and hopefully you guys gained a little bit of insight. Like I say, I don't imagine everybody's going to agree with what we have to say, but it has worked for us. And it is one of those things that has really just exponentially improved our relationship and made us more connected and more in line with each other on a wavelength that really has allowed us to take our relationship to another level that we think, it's worth sharing with others. So with that, we wish you guys a blessed week. Please keep sharing your light with others, and we'll catch you on the next one.